Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another Sporting160EN podcast. This is podcast number 45, and we got a nice little panel going on over here. Let's get right into it, guys. Starting off with Steph. Steph, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. We won 8-1. I thought it was a okay Patini score result, but I'm happy with that. But a little bit upset with the handball team and the ladies. But we'll talk about it.
For sure. I'm also joined by Patrick. Patrick, how you doing, bro?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on, and I seem to have chosen a good night to come on as well after the 8 goals that we put past Belenenses. There's obviously that's happening around Sporting as well off the field. So yeah, it should be an interesting one.
Yeah, agreed. Also with Kevin. Kevin, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, all good after 8-1. Still shocked about that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not common from us here. And last but not least, we're also joined by Chris. Chris, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing good as usual. I have Bruno Fernandes as the captain of my fantasy team this week. So casual little 44 bomb from him. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm feeling good.
Jeez, that's a lot of points. And yeah, anyways, let's jump right into it. Starting with the starting 11, it was Renan Ribeiro in net, Borja, Mathieu, Coates, and Ristovski in defense, Gudeli, Wendell, and Bruno Fernandes in the midfield with Marcos Acunha, Rafinha on the wings, and Luis Felipe up top, with substitutions of Bas Dost coming back to action 2 months later, Idrissa Doumbia also coming into action, and Diaby also came into action today. Anyway, Steph, how you doing? Not how you doing. Oh my God, I'm all over the place. What are your thoughts on today's game, bro?
We started typically as Sporting, which we kind of used to it. We let Belenenses come out strong, but then eventually we regained our composure, and then we scored the 1-0 by Rafinha, a gift from the skies. I can't believe how bad of a pass the goalie of Belenenses produced. And then after that, we went to halftime winning. Then we scored another goal, and I thought it was pretty much a done deal, especially playing against 10, since the goalie was given a red card, well deserved, because that's he was the last man, Rafinha, so he had no other choice. And then after they scored after he scored the 2-1 against us, which I blame Mathieu, because the way he passed the ball to Borja, it kind of put him on the spot. Um, and it would have been better if Mathieu kicked the ball outside than trying to pass such a dangerous ball. And then also Ribeiro, I think he could have done better. I mean, as a goalie, you're supposed to defend the ball to the corner to the corner kick, not up front. And then Lika was supersonic, and he took the advantage of that gift Renan gave him. But then after that, it was all Sporting. Let it rain, baby, and we scored six more goals, and it could have been more. Bas Dost did the posts. Um, so I mean, there's nothing you can say much when we win 8-1. That's a humongous, huge win. I believe this is game number 11, um, and that's amazing. I think we need two more to beat Marin Perez from '96, the record, all-time record. So, and I mean, I think there's an older one, 16 years old, 16 games in a row, that in 1938, 39, long time ago.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's an amazing end of the season, and it makes you think. Um, I really think that all the games, competition, Liga, Taça da Liga, and all that was way too much for this team because we needed a stronger team. But now we can see that these players, if they have enough rest, our team knows how to play and plays well. And I'm very optimistic for the game against Futebol Clube Porto no Dragão and also no Jamor on the 25th of May. I like the way we're playing, full of confidence. So we'll see. But besides that, to wrap it up, the team was amazing, and Belenenses didn't have a chance whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, I'll throw it to you next. What did you think of today's game?
I think it was a dominating performance. We don't usually see these types of blowouts like this too often. Bruno Fernandes is amazing again. He could have scored a couple more goals, actually. I mean, he could have easily had like 5. He's the one that set up that through ball to Rafinha, which got the red card. He's always dangerous and dynamic. Rafinha also had a pretty good game. I felt bad for Guillermo Oliveira, who came in goal for them because he had nothing to do except pick the ball out of the net, and I think that was his first appearance for Belenenses too. So that's a rough go for him. But yeah, it's good to see the team hitting such good form here to close out the season. It'd be amazing if Porto were to lose next week, setting up a decisive game for the last game of the season. But we are rolling right now, and I have full confidence that we have a pretty good chance of winning our last 3 games.
Yeah, agreed. And Kevin, I'll start with you next, bro. What did you think of today's game?
Yeah, very good performance. Didn't look like it would turn out the way that it did. In the first 20 minutes, we didn't have that much of a control on the game. Belenenses did look to threaten a little bit. We didn't seem to get through their block of 10/9 players. But then once we got the first, we never looked like stopping. And I haven't seen Sporting as clinical as this game in a while. We scored 6 goals in the second half, and it was from 6 shots on target. So it's really a tribute to Kaiser's work, as we've improved a lot since we've had a bit more time to concentrate on the tactical side of things, not just doing game after game, since we've been knocked out of the Europa League and the Taça, and that's finished. We've had more time to prepare and to study the opponents and to fix on the problems that we've had before. And it seems to be cancelling out. We've seen Gudeli play a lot better since he's been learning to position a lot more and probably getting a lot more coaching. And the team is just a lot more confident now. It's 10 wins straight, and this one being a brilliant one. And you can't really fault anyone in this team today. It's just a brilliant performance from everyone.
Yeah, agreed. And last but not least, Patrick, what are your thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, obviously a good performance. At times quite relaxed, and one in which I guess some people, mainly opposition fans, will probably look at the game and say Belenenses, they made their bed a bit. Obviously, they gave us the first goal, which Rafinha took, and then Muriel gets himself sent off. And when a team like that puts itself in that sort of position, it's always going to be difficult to climb out of it. And for sure we did look like there was moments where we relaxed a bit, but we knew that I think the players knew that if they wanted to, they could speed things up and take it past Belenenses. Belenenses got the goal. They made it 2-1. It made us think a bit. We got a bit of fortune as well to snap back and get the 3-1 via Gudeli. But as I said, we had the game firmly in our hands, and if we concentrated a bit more and picked our moment to speed it up, then we'd find the gaps in Belenenses' team, and that's what we did. And then unfortunately for Belenenses, unfortunately for themselves, I'm sure they'll be disappointed by what happened in the last 15 minutes, but they really just lost control of all the organisation that they had, and Sporting just tore them apart. Bastos' introduction was a good one, and a nice reminder as well of how useful of a striker he is. I know we're all waxing lyrical over Luis Felipe and his 7 goals in 7 games, but I still rate Dost at the same time, and it's good to have 2 good strikers. But I still rate Dost at the same time as Luis is scoring goals. He's an intelligent striker, and I think we saw that intelligence really shine through, especially for Idrissa Doumbouya's first goal for the club. So all in all, lots of positives to take, and some good confidence building going forwards for that big finale in the season, and obviously the cup final in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, dude. All right. So just to sort of take away a little bit of the game here, Steph, I'll start off with you first. There's been some murmurs. Obviously, this will be in a joking tone, of course, but I don't know, dude. What do you think? Some script? I mean, Muriel handed us the first goal, gave us a red on the second goal. Some script, okay, pa.
Yeah, man, there's no fucking such thing. The thing is, Belenenses, they already achieved their goal.
Yeah.
Just like all the other teams that like Portimonense. Today, os Lampiões they played against Portimonense, and even Braga. You see some teams that usually they typically put up great performances playing shitty, and then you start thinking why. It's because they're not as focused as they needed to be throughout the season, because they achieved their goals. The only teams now that have to remain focused, it's Tondela, Nacional, um, those teams fighting to stay in the first league.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that Porto and Benfica, they're fighting for the championship league. Sporting already guaranteed the 3rd place. Os Lampiões do Norte, they guaranteed the fourth place. So there's a little bit of a fight between the 5th and the 6th place, and then everything else, it's at the bottom. Feirense is gone. They've been relegated. So the interesting about our Portuguese league is the bottom now. Belenenses losing 8-1. Of course, it's embarrassing for Belenenses SAD. Let's not forget about that.
For real, yeah.
But did they give us the game? We have nothing to benefit from this fucking game, really. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have preferred seeing Maxi play. I would have preferred seeing our youth play, because we already have the 3rd place guaranteed. And Kaiser's not doing that. He's still playing Diaby. I don't know why. And then do a couple tests. Do a couple. Try out new players from the sub-23 team, or the ones you have on the bench. Give more minutes to Giovanni, to Francisco Geraldes. I mean, it's now. I mean, do we really give a shit about the record of wins? Not me personally. I don't. I would rather see players that need minutes play. Our team is full of confidence now, but there's no fucking way. Even if Sporting tried to bribe Belenenses, let's say, if that's what people are thinking, for what? We have nothing to gain with this silly game. Seriously speaking, this game was not crucial for anything at all whatsoever. Nah, so it's bullshit.
Yeah, agreed, dude. I was really just saying that as a joke too, because I seen some complaints about. Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Do you know why they complain? Because Uzbekistan, they complain about that. It's because we not blind. We see how these fucking teams like Braga and Marítimo opened their legs and they got it in the ass and they facilitated the game. We know that, and they know that. So to counterattack, they come with the silly ideas that against Belenenses did the same. But we're not in the title race. We're not fighting for anything. We got the third place from since last fucking Friday. So
Yeah.
they can keep on dreaming and masturbating.
Kevin, next question will go to you. So earlier on in the season, we were linked to Muriel. So what do you think? Do you think he's still a good keeper as many of us still think that he is, and that today was just a bad game, or do you just not believe that he's anywhere near Sporting quality? Not anywhere near, but he's not Sporting quality per se.
Definitely a very good keeper, as we've seen as from multiple games that Belenenses have played against Sporting and various games he's played across the season. But I'd say he's not Sporting's quality. I'd say Belenenses is definitely his level. And I'd say as regards to Sporting's goalkeeping position, we have a perfectly good goalkeeper at an Italian club out on loan who's doing a perfectly good job and probably saved Spal from relegation, along with some others, of course. But I'd say Viviano is definitely the guy to bring back for next season.
Yeah, good shout. Patrick, next question to you. So Goudelli, it was a deflection, but he did get called the goal. Overall, he's had a decent or pretty good performance today, and he's definitely been growing from the last few games at Sporting. Do you think he deserves to sign a permanent deal with us, or do you think it's best that we let him go at the end of the season?
Well, as you say, I think we can all agree that perhaps since the Benfica game in a cup, we have seen Goudelli go from strength to strength in the Sporting side, and he has performed a lot better than what we had seen in the early stages. And me personally, looking at that, you do sort of wonder whether obviously he comes from the Chinese league where it was made known to Sporting that Goudelli wasn't as fit as the other players from the get-go. So he had a lot of catching up to do in terms of form and being in full fitness. So you just wonder whether maybe now he's really feeling a lot more comfortable with himself and with his surroundings at Sporting. And perhaps now we'll start to see the real Goudelli. That is sort of on the back of my mind, but I just still think that even with his good form now, and with Sporting's financial situation, apparently being as delicate as it is, that we've had to ship out Nani and Montero, and we're perhaps thinking about doing the same to Acuna and Coates at certain stages. With that being Sporting's situation, I think Goudelli won't come cheap, so I would personally prefer to hold off bringing him in permanently, or just looking at different avenues for that position. Because I still think he's not the ideal number 6 that Kaiser would like in that squad anyway. I think even Idrissa Doumbia isn't quite that guy, but someone similar to Doumbia in terms of he's not an expensive signing. I think Sporting should be looking for a gem in the mould of Doumbia to fill that role, or even stick Doumbia there for one season and try polishing him up as a true number 6. I think those are smarter avenues that Sporting could take going into the future. So Goudelli's simply too expensive for me.
Yeah, agreed. Chris, so Bruno Fernandes, along with others like Coates, Cunha, Risto, and Luis Felipe, on a yellow card warning. So one more yellow card would take them out the next game. So luckily, they didn't see any yellows today. None of the players I was talking about, but mainly focusing on Bruno Fernandes. Do you think he should force a yellow card the next game against Tondela so he can miss the final game against Porto, but play the Taça? Or do you think that we should be looking for him to play all 3 of those games to, potentially secure a second place if Porto does happen to slip up, and of course the all-important Taça final? What do you think, dude?
So if he would be suspended on yellow cards, it would carry over to the cup final?
If he gets suspended on the Porto game, yes. Like the last game of the season, it would.
Okay. Well, it totally, for me to answer that is situational, because if the game against Porto doesn't actually matter, then I'm fine with sitting him. I don't care, because we're already in third, and if we mathematically can't get to second because Porto wins or draws next weekend, then I'm fine with that. I'm also fine with it in terms of potentially deciding the title race one way or another, because I'm not particularly fond of potentially handing Benfica the title if they happen to slip up. Not saying that they will or that I think that they will, but it really would be hilarious if they lose their last game but we beat Porto, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
that would be hilarious.
I'm fine with sitting him. Obviously, I think that if he forces a yellow, or it appears that he forces a yellow, he's going to get suspended extra because of what happened with Petit so recently. I think they're kind of onto that. That was only a couple of weeks ago, so it's not worth it. But yeah, we shouldn't let that try to take away, because he's done a good job the past couple games of managing this, and he typically is a bit hot-headed, and he was getting booked almost every game at the beginning of the season. So he did accumulate a lot back then. So yeah, to answer the question, if the game against Porto matters, that for us, I definitely don't sit him. But if the game doesn't matter and Porto is more than 3 points ahead of us, which will happen if they win or draw their next game, then that game against Porto doesn't matter. So I'm totally fine with throwing out Thierry Correia, Maximiliano, the Geralds, Jovan, everyone. Baz Dost, a reserve striker. Let them all play.
Yeah, agreed. Kevin, my next question will go to you. So we've seen Doumbia finally scores first, if I'm not mistaken, for Sporting. I think it's also he's tied with his namesake, Doumbia, from last season. I could be wrong, of course, though. But what do you think, dude? Do you think? We've sort of talked about this a lot these last coming weeks, but I guess more so today, seeing as we've seen another goal from him, another decent performance on him coming in. Do you think we should maybe even change stuff around even this season, or do you think that going forward next season, Doumbia is our center defensive midfielder going forward? What do you think, dude?
Considering this season performances-wise, I'd say Doumbia is our best 6 at the moment. He plays the position a lot better than Godelli. His positional awareness isn't always his best. And in transitioning defenders. God, what's happened there?
Yeah, we still hear you, dude.
Okay. Yeah, fine. I'm putting myself on mute. Never mind.
That's cool.
Yeah, like I was saying, is transitioning between defending and attacking. Sometimes you get caught off a little bit. So I'd like to see Gilbert possibly start there, see how we do. And we've got Daniel Bragança, even Bruno Paz could play that position. So we've got talent that can play that 6 role. But I'd say Doumbia is definitely the best that we've got at the moment. And we should look to see how these other players do. But if not, go for a proper 6, because Doumbia isn't quite there and should be used primarily as a backup.
Agreed, dude. Agreed. Steph, I'll pass the next question off to you. Seeing as you're kind of our optimist here on the panel, but you're also like a very realist. What do you think, dude? Second place. I mean, of course, mathematically it's possible, but realistically, do you see us achieving that, or is that just a pipe dream?
Yeah, it's just a pipe dream. There's only 2 games left. I don't see Porto slipping against Nacional. Let's be realistic. They will demolish them at home. So I mean, I would love for them to tie against Nacional. But even what are we 6 points away from Porto? So with that said, they need to lose against Nacional. So nah, I don't see it. I hope so, of course, but realistically, we got the 3rd place, and basically we will go to the group phase of Liga Europa, but that's it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even though Nacional, if they pick up 6 points in their last 2 games, might be safe, or will probably be safe. I agree with you. I also don't see that happening. I think they lost today 3-1. Yeah, 3-1 to Santa Clara. Oh no, that's Tondela.
No, they
tied 2-2. Right, they tied 2-2. Yeah, which I mean, it's promising for us because it does show that they have some. They have some kick about them. They have some fire about them. They definitely want to stay up. You know, they were down 2-0 against Guimarães. So, but yeah, I agree. I think Porto will be too much of a test for them. Patrick, next question to you. So we seen a Bas Dost goal today, as well as a Bas Dost nice dummy to Doumbia, as well as a Luis Felipe goal, 7 in 7 games. If you're Kaiser, who starts next game? Do you keep Luis Felipe starting because he's still hot? Do you throw in Bas Dost off the 20-minute cameo he had now, as well as his reputation? What do you think, dude?
I think we've got to be fair to Luis Felipe, really, and he's finally put together a really good run of goals to his name, and the team's playing reasonably well. What you don't want to do is, for example, ignore that, and having seen the effort that Luis Felipe has gone through to finally start scoring for Sporting, you don't really want to throw that to the fire, so to speak, and throw Dost in just for the sake that his name is Bas Dost. Of course, we've got to respect his qualities, but we've got this game coming up, and then next game is against Porto, and we all know what Bas Dost is like in big games. He's not the most of athletic striker. He's not pacey, so he will struggle. It's tricky for me to see Dost realistically in the squad right now, with Luis Felipe playing as well as he is, and apparently having a very good connection with the likes of Rafinha, who he seems to be quite close to, and Bruno Fernandes as well, who that is well documented now that they have lots of discussions on movement and all that. So there's a nice synergy between those three building. I think that's the way forwards for now. Short term, long term we can have the discussion who's better, Luis Felipe or Bas Dost, and that'll be that. But for short term, I think Kaiser's got to go with what's worked recently, and what's worked recently is Luis Felipe. He's got 7 goals in 7 appearances. We've got to respect that and back the guy all the way for these next few games, I think, especially for that Porto game, because I think he's got more about him in terms of offering Porto a threat when we need someone to hold the ball up or attack the space in behind the Porto defence, which I'm sure could be the case on numerous occasions.
Yeah, and last question really on this game to you, Chris. A bit more towards actual the events on the game. Was the penalty call on 4-1. I think it's definitely debatable. What do you think? Was that a clear penalty, or do you think the defender, the Belenenses defender, wins the ball and then the follow through trips up Luis Felipe?
Yeah, it's definitely not an obvious PK. Definitely on the softer side. But I have definitely seen softer given this season. Just in general by Portuguese refs. He does win the ball at first, but he kind of takes out Luis Felipe. After he's won the ball. I definitely thought it was one for him to take a look at. I'm surprised that he didn't look at the replay of it and just trusted the guy upstairs that it was the right call. But yeah, I mean, to me, I'm probably leaning more it isn't a PK because I kind of hate when you win the ball, but you kind of clip the men at the end but you've already won the ball. It's like the Rostovsky red card against Shavs. I mean, he comes in, wins the ball, and then kind of clips the guy at the end, and they call a foul. I was opposed to that. So, I mean, I'm just trying to stay consistent here, and I personally hate it when you win the ball and you just kind of hit the guy with the follow through. I mean, it's tough to win the ball then if you can't make any contact with the guy even after you've won it. So for me, I'm leaning more towards no. Probably like 60-40 in terms of no to yes. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think about it.
Yeah, I was actually going to throw it off to someone else too, because I actually agree with you. I think that was a very harsh decision, in my opinion. Steph, what do you think? Do you think it's a clear penalty?
Yeah, without a doubt, it's a clear penalty. Yeah, it's a clear penalty. I have nothing else to say. I mean,
for sure, yeah.
If this one wasn't a penalty, the ones that Benfica got last game, not this game, but last 3 weekend. I mean, those were not penalty, but you know what I mean. In comparison,
yeah.
This one was obvious. The ones in favor of Benfica, you could say that Amala Chow worked out pretty good.
Agreed. I definitely agree with you there too. Definitely the Benfica ones weren't. Patrick, what are your thoughts on this penalty too?
Yeah, I'd go with Steph. Obviously, it's one of those that, as a defender, you have a clear intention in your head to do what you set out to do, which is win the ball, and things sort of get conflicted a little bit once you make the challenge. And it can be a tricky one sometimes for the referee to decide. But I think on the face of things, the right decision was made in the end. So I'd say it's a penalty too.
All right, fair. And Kevin, you're the tiebreaker. It's 2-2 right now. Not the Toronto-Philadelphia series, of course, though. Anyways, Kevin, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's a penalty?
I'd say definitely a penalty. I mean, if it wasn't given, I'm pretty sure we'd all be enraged that it wouldn't be given. And if you're in doubt, just go ahead and watch all of the penalties that Benfica has been given this season and see how many of them are softer than the one that we got given today.
Yikes. Tell them how you really feel, bro.
It's how it is.
All right, fair enough. So it's 3-2 in terms of penalty. So, yeah, good call then, I guess. All right, really last subject matter is man of the match. I mean, I think we can all agree it was Bruno Fernandes, but your special mention, if it's not, and if it's not Bruno Fernandes, tell me who your man of the match is. Chris, I'll start with you, dude.
Yeah. So, just to keep mixing it up because I do think Bruno Fernandes is the man of the match.
Agreed. Hard to argue with you as well.
So I'm gonna go with Luis Felipe. Goal and an assist. Could have had another one. Thought he had a nice game. I've been liking the way he's been playing. I believe it's 6 straight games with a goal, or 5 straight games with a goal. Well, one of those
Oh
games.
no,
he
yeah,
had
right.
2
7 and
goals.
7. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's good to have 2 strikers. I really wish that Bas Dost would have hit the one that he dummied, because to me that gave me some like PTSD of the form that he was in, because I actually think he did that exact same thing when he was in the poor form, where he kind of dummied it like that, and it's like, dude, just shoot the ball. He got unlucky, he hit the post as well. So I mean, he's potentially on a hat trick if he takes all his chances there, which would have been pretty remarkable. But yeah, I'm definitely glad to see him score again. I'm sure that felt really good. But yeah, Luis Felipe's my man of the match.
Yeah. The thing that I loved about Luis Felipe too on Bruno Fernandes, I don't know if it was his first or I think it was his first, where Luis Felipe sort of gets the ball past the goalkeeper. He has kind of an open net with a defender in front of him.
Yeah.
And the first thing he does is look to where Bruno Fernandes is to give them the goal. I think that, I mean, I know we sort of get on Bas Dost for the same thing, but that sort of unselfishness. And I mean, it's not like he had an open net at the same time.
Yeah, no, it would have had to been a good finish. But,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. And
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes kind of got risky with it. He put it to the left side of the goal where the defender's momentum was carrying him, and the whole right side of the goal was
wide open. Yeah,
but it worked out, so no complaints. But yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, the fucking cheek of that guy. Definitely playing with some confidence. Kevin, who's your man of the match, dude?
Apart from obviously Bruno Fernandes, I'd say Rafinha. Again, he had a very good game. Linked up very well with Felipe, and Bruno Fernandes created a lot of chances down the right. Kistowski didn't support him that much, so he had quite a lot of individual pieces of skill that he pulled off. That's quite good to see. A couple of dribbles on the right side, put in a couple of crosses, and just had a very good game. I'd say he's probably the man of the match, apart from Bruno Fernandes and possibly Felipe.
Yeah, can't argue with that too. Rafinha's been on fire these last few weeks, to be fair. Patrick, who's your man of the match, dude?
I can't look past Bruno Fernandes, really. I think by the end of it, he's the one who really turned the screw and made the scoreline look like what it was. I think he is the heartbeat of the Sporting team. So, for the sake of it being a hat-trick, for him being the highest scoring midfielder in history, and I think he even has more goals than Cristiano Ronaldo this season as well. So, big day for him. So I'll give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you can't argue with Bruno Fernandes, dude. And Steph, last but not least, who's your man of the match, dude?
Well, I have a couple names. I'll go with Wendell and Acuna.
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah, players that just because they didn't score any goals, they go unseen. But the work they do in the midfield, they both of them, they are a little too working bees, doing all the nasty stuff, all the nitty gritty. So the Wendell and Acuna for me.
Yeah, great shouts. All right, moving on to I think the hottest talking point of Sporting Sporting club news this week. Not only the potential deal between Manchester City and Sporting for Bruno Fernandes, but more so the potential future dealings of Manchester City youngsters to Sporting, with maybe potential of future buy options or whatever it may be. While City also has not priority, but sort of like first what's the word I'm looking for? Like first dibs, I guess you can say, on our talent and on our players. Patrick, I'll throw it off to you first. What are your thoughts on this potential deal between the two clubs?
It's interesting because obviously City are a very well connected club. And if you look at their youth setup, they've got some very interesting players that are constantly arriving, through the door, the youth academy. Many of them will eventually find it difficult to break through the first team, and I think that there's a very good example even at Real Madrid. Brahim Diaz, hardly got a game at Manchester City, and now he's doing very well for Real Madrid. One of the biggest clubs in the world. So there is, in my head, obviously, the chance that Sporting will find themselves with one or two interesting names should a deal like that materialise. But the downside of that, of course, is that deep in the foundations of the young players, there may be times when we see a very good, talented youngster slip from our hands and enter City's academy, and you don't really want to do that. Obviously, as fans of Sporting, I think we all agree we want to see the best players possible represent our club, especially when they come through our youth academy. It's what we pride ourselves on. So I'm always very cautious with partnerships like that between two clubs. So I'm not sure. That part of me wants to see it because it's a very good connection to have, Manchester City, with as I said, interesting youngsters and to their name. But part of me also wants to see Sporting be a little bit more independent and in that way try to affect the European game. We can still do that and hold good relationships with a club like Manchester City. But we're not here to do any special deals or first dibs on young players. In my opinion, I don't really agree with that. I'd rather Sporting go, and if they have a promising player, like for example Bruno Fernandes, we sell to the highest bidder always. That's just what I prefer to see from a club.
Yeah, well said. Chris, what are your thoughts on the City deal? Do you agree more with what Patrick was saying, or do you think this deal might be a bit more beneficial?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sold on just the concept of it. Of it's a slightly lower value than we would have given you, but we're giving you some fucking scraps from our scrap pile here, and that will kind of balance it out. That's kind of the thinking, I think. And I don't really like it. We don't really need overpriced, untested youth players that Man City obviously feels aren't going to pan out for them. We obviously have a better youth academy than they do. In terms of just looking at purely results based as far as the players we've developed. I mean, obviously they developed some good players over the years, but I mean, I think we have a better track record. So I mean, I don't really think that we need to be either spending money to get these overpriced youth prospects purely because they're coming from Manchester City, and B, giving them 50-60% of a resale, because I mean that totally defeats the purpose of it. So I mean, I do think that Bruno Fernandes would flourish at City, and it's obviously a better situation to go to than Manchester United right now, just as far as like stability and playing style, in my opinion. But I mean, I mean, at the same time, though, I can look at it from the other side, and it's like, I mean, if the buyout really is 35 and they give us 50, I mean, they're kind of doing us a favor. If more than anything, they're just kind of guaranteeing themselves being the highest bidder, because there'll be plenty of clubs who'll be able to easily trigger that 35 buyout. So I don't really think it's going to get that much higher above that. So, I mean, if this is the best deal that's available, obviously we kind of have to take it, but I don't really like where this is going, the path that it's going down. And I think that we definitely have lost some leverage in terms of the negotiation at this point. So yeah, I guess the only thing to do is just keep, these news bits are going to be coming in for, the next month straight. So we kind of got to analyze each one to determine the legitimacy of it, and not get too held up by, rumors that are around for, only a day and are just kind of made up by the press. So, I mean, as far as tweeting out, rumors and stuff, it's almost, not beneficial to tweet them all out because the story changes from day to day. I mean, this just might be the latest story, and then it'll change again tomorrow in the paper. So we'll have to see how it develops. But I mean, as far as the way that it's going right now, I am getting a bit nervous as far as what this deal could become.
Yeah, well said. Steph, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with these two guys, or do you think differently, dude?
Do I think?
And
what?
sorry, Steph. Let me just before I forget again. It's not that it's first dibs. I actually messed up on that. Like Zeh helped me out here on the chat. It's more that City will be able to sort of match offers from other teams rather than have first dibs on our player. So sorry on that. Let me just clarify that. But anyway, Steph,
we had a similar type of deal with Racing when we bought Acuna, and then we didn't take advantage of it. But we had technically first right, or like preferential odds or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
At signing some players, and it was like for a 3-year window. Obviously, that 3-year window's passed. We didn't sign anyone, but technically, it was available there. So it's the same type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. Yeah, like I was saying, it's not exactly first dibs. It's more like that. Well said, Chris. Anyway, Steph, what are your thoughts on the City deal?
Oh no, I agree with Chris. I'm not in the mood to pick up scrap from Manchester City. If you look at the track record of the youth league of the championship youth league, Porto just won it. The under 19. Before that, I mean, I hate to say it's our rivals, but it's just to show the quality of our youth in Portugal. Benfica reached the final twice. So I don't think their youth is superior to our youth. I think the number one academy in the world is Ajax from the Netherlands, and we should be around the second or third. But I don't see any English team being superior than any of our academies in Portugal, and I will include Benfica and Porto because they've done a phenomenal job lately. So, uh, like Chris said, picking up scraps from Manchester City, and I'm pretty sure these scrap players, they have good salaries, and paying them a ton of money. I'm not a big fan of that, and these bullshit clauses of you'll have first choices, and it's like Chris said. I mean, we had it with racing, we never took advantage of it. So it's just smoke screens, So show me the money. I mean, stop with this fucking bullshit deals. He's 100 million. He's 100 million. If you want to go negotiate for a little bit less, like 80, I'll be okay with that. But I'm certainly not okay with a 55 because I've seen it on Twitter. 55 plus 15 in objectives, and then a lone player or something like that. I'm not a big fan of that. Show me the money. You want it. You want him, pay. If you don't want him, I have Manchester United, your neighbor, that's interested. And I have Paris Saint-Germain that's interested. And I have Bayern Munich that's interested.
Yep.
And I have Juventus that's interested. And that's how Vienna should negotiate in Belenenses. It's to bring to the table those big sharks. I think even Barcelona is interested. So show it to them. Hey, we have no problem selling this player. There's a bunch of teams that want him with a lot of money. So we're not interested in your bullshit fucking broken players that you guys don't even want, and the 15 millions in objectives. Show me the money, and this we still have the leverage. We just have to be smart about it. But I agree with Chris 100%. I am not in the mood of getting players that Manchester City says they're not a good fit for them, and why would they be a good fit for Sporting Clube Portugal? I don't see the point at all.
Yeah, well said. Kevin, last but not least, thoughts on the City deal, or do you agree with with what Steph, Patrick, and Chris has said?
100%. One point that I will make is part of the deal for Bruno Fernandes that is being discussed. It's around 50 million or whatever it was. Plus, there's two players that are being discussed: Moreno, the winger, and Douglas Luiz, who's a central midfielder, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I don't know how it makes sense to first not play Daniel Bragança, send him out on loan. Not play Miguel Luiz, send him to the under-23s. Not play Bruno Page in the first team, keep him in the under-23s. Hardly play Dumbia until the last few games of the season. But we're going to bring in Douglas Luiz from Manchester City so we can bet on him and not our own kids, who for sure are better than something that Manchester City bought and never used. I really don't see the point of getting other academy players to play for us when we don't use our own. And do we not have an agreement similar to this one with Barcelona a few years ago? The Hefren deal, where we gave them 2 academy players and whatever it was, and we got Hefren in return. Different circumstance, but in deals like this, it always seems to be the small club, which is, in this case, unfortunately, Sporting. They always seem to get screwed over. So, we're in the Liga NOS. We're a selling team, unfortunately. Our finances apparently aren't in the best shape. What we should be looking to do is get the full 100 million, sell and buy well. And by buy well, I'm not meaning buying Diabis or bringing in Douglas Luiz or Moreno for 3 million. No, we invest smartly in the academy for one, bring in good players of a good quality, or bet in our own youth.
Yeah. I mean, I'll play devil's advocate a bit. I think it's not necessarily a terrible agreement between the two. I mean, for example, we've been crying about a new goalkeeper for a whole season now. I wouldn't be opposed to City throwing in Claudio Bravo for us. You know what I mean?
Pá, eu não percebo. Vivian loaned out, we keep Renan because we want to. Só isso.
Sorry, Kev. I started talking. I think you cut out a bit. Kev, you hear us now?
Yeah. Sorry.
Maxi, caralho. Maxi, meu.
Okay.
Para Maxi e para 2, Viviano. Why have we got 2 brilliant goalkeepers? One that can be one of the best in the world in a few years, and one that's one of the best in Italy, but he's not good enough for Sporting. Why are we keeping Renan? We made a choice to not use Viviano, and we're making a choice not to use Maxi, but we're going to bring in Bravo for what?
Yeah. Okay, what I'm saying here is we can also use Manchester City's. We know they have money. The only thing I don't like is the fact that Hugo Viana and Sporting in general are going to Manchester to settle out a deal for our player. What I'm saying, and even and I agree with Zed here on the chat, is it's not like if a team comes in for 100 million or whatever it is, it's not like if City come in for less that we have to take the City deal. It's just that the City have to match it. So I mean, I don't see why we can't maybe negotiate a United to a 50 and then have them to battle out the 2 rivals. I know we can do that without the affiliate deal, but what I'm saying is we can also potentially get a Jadon Sancho. We can also potentially get a who else was another the kid that they sold to Real Madrid? What's his name? Brahim Diaz. You know, just to play devil's advocate, what's to say that if, without this deal, Sporting wouldn't get a player or a youngster of that quality coming out of City's City's academy that has been growing for the last. I don't know
City have a lot of very, very, very good players in their academy. I will give I will give them that, and we're not just talking about English players that come from inner parts of Manchester. They've got a very good networking squad that picks up players from Germany, from Holland, South America, Spain, of course. Lots of interesting players. But I think I kind of get what Kevin is getting at, and it's that, like, for example, a Marlos Moreno, who was tipped to be a very good player, 2-3 years ago at international tournaments with Colombia and with Atletico Nacional, I believe he was at, in the Colombian league. This is a player who, to come to Sporting, he still has to work a lot to get into the first team. And if we've already got players who are talented and are already having to work a lot to get into the first team, like Miguel Luis, like Gerald, Bruno Page, etc., etc., this is just going to clog up more. I think Sporting should. We've got that potential. I think Sporting should be looking at either being absolutely sure that Marlos Moreno is the profile of player that we want, and he will, like, 8-9 times out of 10 get into the first team. Either we're very sure that player will do that for us, or we simply have to look for players that will enter the first team, because we're pretty much covered in terms of players that are knocking on the door of the first team and are potential stars for the future, but have to work hard to get there first. We've got lots of players like that. But yeah, as a flip side to that, it's a difficult decision. I just think with a player like Bruno Fernandes, we have to scream for the money. He's Sporting's most valuable asset. He's easily going to smash the record for most expensive sale that we have. So we have to go for the money. We can't mess around and gamble on players that are very talented but still have lots to prove. Not only because that's risky on our behalf, and if there's a reward at the end of it, Man City will guarantee themselves a cut of a future sale, but also because we've got lots of players already at the club that are in the same position. So, to me, Sporting just absolutely has to say, listen, 65, 70 million, whatever it may be, we want the money full, like, in bulk. No messing about. Bruno Fernandes is our most valuable asset. We can't afford to mess around with players that have it all to prove still.
Yeah. Well said. I actually agree with you there, Patrick. All right, moving on. We rambled a bit about the City deal, though I think deservingly. I think it's a big thing for our club in the future. Steph, seeing as you're the only one of us really that will recall Peter Schmeichel's performances at Sporting and stuff, what did you think of his remarks about Manuel Fernandes?
He was right on. I mean, before Manuel Fernandes came to coach Sporting, I loved him as a player. Let's get that out of the way. Phenomenal Sportingista. There's no doubt about that too. I love him, but when I say but, I have to be realistic. As a commentator, he sucks. He shouldn't be allowed to be a commentator. It's an insult to the intelligence of the Sporting Nação. Every time he opens his mouth, he says something. He says things he's not supposed to. Sometimes it's stuff that goes in practice that we're not supposed to know. No one is supposed to know, and he opens his big mouth. And also as a coach, he sucked. And I mean, do I want to be sympathetic with him? I could be, but then I would be a fake commentator in our podcast. He was the coach for Santa Clara, for Setúbal, and he didn't do much as a coach. So when he came to Sporting, he didn't last too long. I think his son, on the other hand, Jack Fernandes has a better chance of be a better coach. But Manuel Fernandes, you know, I mean, Schmeichel he's a gentleman. He's been champion in England with Manchester United, champion of Europe with Denmark, champion of Portugal with Sporting. So he knows more about soccer in his little pinky than Manuel Fernandes in his whole body. And you just gotta Google and Manuel Fernandes and see his track record as a coach, because as a player he was phenomenal, and he won many titles for Sporting, and thank you for that. But as a coach, he sucks, and I'm glad that Sporting at that time they realized that quite fast, and then they kind of dismissed him in a grateful, gracious way. But I agree with Schmeichel 100%.
Yeah, I think we'll all agree with Schmeichel there. A last political thing before getting into two footballing aspects. I'll ask Chris this one. So it came out that Sousa Sintra spent about 17 million in his 3 months of presidency at Sporting. Taking account, of course, he was in charge during the transfer market, so he did have to buy the likes of Diaby. He, I think, is credited with Nani and a few other, Goudel, of course. What did you think of those reports? Seeing as you also are, you took a look into our books a bit when it first came out. The 17 million with Sousa Sintra, dude. What do you think about that?
It's impressive that he managed to spend that much fucking money in such a short amount of time.
Well fucking said, dude. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty remarkable. And if you just think about it, the sports papers were crying that we wasted 20 million, 25 million, I don't remember, on the modalidades in the past 5 years. That's literally what he spent in like 4 months, and that was 6 years of modalidades, and that was supposed to be like a damning story, you know. So yeah, that's pretty remarkable, and just gives you some context as to what gets these guys who write the papers worked up, and where their priorities lie. But yeah, I mean that's pretty bad for him. You know, a lot of that was like Diaby. You know, that's like almost half of it right there. Part of it was probably bonuses for the guys who came back from their contract rescissions. Obviously Viviano, or was Viviano Bruno? He was a Bruno Carvalho guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's just not like fiscally responsible, especially considering obviously the loans that had to have been paid back, that obviously have been taken care of now, but I mean that was probably 6 months before, so I mean it's not like they snuck up on anyone. They obviously knew about it. He had access to that information. He obviously knew about it. He was the president of the club. So yeah, I mean, all things considered, in the situation we would find ourselves in, like 6 months later, is just pretty remarkable that he was being that wasteful and kind of had like enough, unchecked power enough to be doing that in the first place. So yeah, it's pretty amazing and pretty shitty at the same time.
Yeah, I think you said that well. Patrick, a bit more now to the footballing side. One of the loanees that we'll talk about right now, Mama Balde, having an incredible season with Avj, really having back-to-back good seasons. Last season, we've seen him more as a right back. This season, we're seeing him more up top, playing as a right wing. There's a lot of reports saying that he's gonna, and I think we're all in agreement. He deserves a preseason with Sporting. Seeing as that's likely to happen, what do you think would be his best position at Sporting? Do you think it'd be better to place him back at right back, seeing as we might need depth, especially if Gaspar is going to leave? Or do you think we should play him at right wing just because he's been lights out this season?
I would say, in terms of looking at him as a player, I would say he'd be a very good wing back, so in between a winger and a right fullback. But I'm not sure, even with the goals, even with the numbers that he has put up on loan, I'm not sure he's quite, sporting quality. What I see is a player who is very good at attacking the space, has very good movement. He's quick, he's strong as well. He's got decent technical ability, but he's one of those players that will excel at a smaller club where he has got the space to attack on a counter attack and affect the game that way. If you're bringing a player like that into Sporting, especially as a right winger, you have to be a lot more crafty. And I still see the mentality of a very old school winger at most in Mama Balde, which to me in 2019, we're going into 2020. Given the intricacies of modern football, I don't think that's enough for Sporting to have on the flanks. You could give him a go at fullback for sure. But again, there's still doubts over whether he's as solid defensively as he is when your team has the opportunity to attack. So I think there's generally lots to figure out with Mama Balde. We could give him a chance in the summer with pre-season, but for sure, I think he's probably a player who, after a season like this, he's got a market elsewhere. And I don't think it'd be the end of the world if someone like him wouldn't break into the first team, because I do still think he's someone who's still very much stuck in the old school mold of a winger, which to me isn't enough for a team like Sporting, who every week generally is coming up against very defensive teams, and we need someone, like Rafinha, like Gelson last season, like Bruno Fernandes, different level of creativity to break these guys down. I don't think Mama Balde really provides us with that.
All right. Yeah. Well said. Last question to you, Kevin. Of course, just basing off rumors and reports from not only Portuguese media but also German media. There's a lot of talks that maybe we're open to selling Matheus Pereira for 10 million. Apparently, Nuremberg really wants to keep Matheus Pereira for next season. I personally know you want us to keep Matheus Pereira. Am I right on that? You want us to have Matheus Pereira for a preseason at least 100%. Next season, correct? So what are your predictions, though? What do you think Sporting's going to actually do? Do you think Sporting, given the chance and given that offer, will sell Matheus Pereira, or do you think Sporting is looking more to keep him on for next season? Because we are lacking a bit in depth in terms of wingers. But what's your opinion?
Honestly, if Sporting sees a 15 million offer or thereabouts, I don't see Varandas rejecting it, which would be a shame, because Matheus, after a slow start in Germany, he's finally being played on the right side where he performs best and in the system that suits him better. And the Nuremberg are seeing the benefits of that now. He's got something like 3 goals, 1 assist in 5 games, if I'm not wrong. And considering that the wingers that Sporting have at the moment, we have Rafinha and Acuna being somewhere in between of a fullback and a winger. So we'll count Acuna for this one, but we've got Rafinha, Acuna, Jovan that hardly plays, and Diaby that doesn't count as a player. I say he's a 100-meter sprinter. That's up for you guys to decide, though.
Don't need to kill the guy, bro. Come on. I'm kidding.
You got an assist today. I'll leave him. But I'd say Matheus he deserved a chance this season before the whole episode with him and Pazeiro and his comments on Twitter, which were childish of him, but I don't think getting sent to Germany was the right idea. But I'd say Rafinha and Mateus on one side, or Rafinha also playing on the left. But I'd say if we started next season with Felipe up top, Rafinha on the left, and Mateus on the right, I'd say that's a massive upgrade on what we've got now. And Mateus definitely deserves a chance in pre-season, and I'd like to see him stay for the new season.
All right, well said.
I don't think they're going to have the money, personally. They're going to get relegated. So I don't know how a Bundesliga 2 team has 12 million, but I mean...
Bundesliga has a lot more money than obviously more than Portuguese league. So
yeah, but they're going to lose all that TV. They're going to lose all that TV money, though.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, I will admit that, there's good support in the German lower leagues. There's fantastic support, but I just don't know if they have that money, or they're going to have that money, or if that's even smart for them to be spending
dishing out that money in the second. Yeah. But I mean, the thing also with Germany is a lot of the teams that go down tend to come up. So like, what's their name, man? Give me 1 second.
Stuttgart went down and came right back up.
Exactly, Stuttgart, and there's another one too. Not Düsseldorf. Fucking not Hanover. I don't know anymore. I feel like maybe it was Hanover. I can't remember anymore. Anyways, never mind. But Stuttgart at least will help now. A lot of teams tend to go down and come up in Germany a lot.
Cologne
Even Cologne,
back up
exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it wouldn't be a terrible investment in their part, especially if they're looking to come
right back up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think they'll also have the money for that. Anyway, Steph, turning it over to you. Take us through the world of Sporting and our current modalidades results.
Okay, so let's do it. I'm going to start with the disappointing results. So
get them out of the way first, bro.
Yeah, so we can finish strong and with a happy smile on our faces. So, believe it or not, in handball, we lost against Benfica 25-24. And I hate to say it, but this has a lot to do with the lingering of our coach, Canella, not knowing if he's going to be new, if he's going to stay with us. Since that announcement came out, the team has been shaky, lacking of confidence, and I think it's linked to that. I hate to say it, but I think it is. I've never seen a team play this poor, even against Madeira Sad on Wednesday when we played. We barely won. We were losing at halftime by 3 goals, and then we came back and we won the game. But we're not being ourselves. We're not the team that reached the quarterfinals of the Champions Leagues. So because losing against Benfica, a team that's not as strong as ours, it's actually, it's embarrassing, actually. It's a rival, of course. They have a good team, but we have a better team. We have the obligation of winning against them. The only team that can compete against us is really Porto. So to me, it was devastating losing against Benfica, but I blame our direção. They're not doing everything they can do to keep Canella, and they should do everything they can to keep Canella. If he's asking for a little bit more money, give him the goddamn money because he deserves it, and it's well worth it. And I'm taking a little bit of time with handball because it's very close to my heart, and I hate what I'm seeing. We're gonna hand up the season. Not winning anything because we out of the Taça de Portugal and losing against Benfica. It's a low blow, and Porto usually they strive on that, and they can smell blood and they'll take advantage. Moving on, the ladies they did the best they could. They tied in Sporting Clube Braga. I hate to call them Sporting Clube Braga. They used to be uma filial Sporting, but they really Lampiões do Norte. But with this tie of 0-0, they became champions of Portugal for the first time in their history. So congratulations to the lady of Braga, which they have nothing to do with the squad of the men's squad. They're much better than them and more classy. So congratulations to them. Juniors, another disappointing result after being winning 2-0 at halftime. We lost one player, of course, but that shouldn't matter. We let Tondela come back, and they tied the game 2-2. We out of the title race, but by far this under 19 team has been the worst team in many years. This final phase of the championship, it's been embarrassing. Losing 5-1 against Porto, 4-1 against Benfica. It's been pretty bad for these juniors. So we have to do a better job, maybe switching the coaching staff. Jose Lima, he's not doing a great job. So we need to revisit that and revamp the whole junior team. Cup League, under 23. Like you said on Twitter, Denny, we finished strong in the league. We finished in second place. And I do agree that, the main goal is to develop the players. Even though I was disappointed when we lost the game 2-1, which could have been the title game because we won easily against Benfica at home this last game. But now for the League Cup, we won 3-1 against Tubal. What a performance. I can see a lot of these players in the preseason, and I hope so. And we have a lot of quality. Quarterfinal futsal, we won away in Quinta dos Lobos, 5-3. A big thank you to Quinta dos Lobos. They gave us a nice gift because we conquered the Champions League futsal cup, and they were nice enough before the game to give us a nice little gift. Final four, OK in Patins. I have to mention it. It'll be next weekend. The first games, the semifinal games, will be on the 11th of May, which is a Saturday. The first semifinal will be Barcelona against Futebol Clube do Porto. It'll be at 12 noon in Portugal and 7 a.m. in US and Canada, or 12 noon in Europe. Semifinal, the other second semifinal will be Sporting Clube Portugal against Sporting Lisboa Benfica. 1800 in Portugal, which is 6 p.m. in Portugal, and 1 p.m. in the U.S., Canada. And then the final of whoever wins those two semifinals will be on the 12th of May, which is a Sunday. Will be at 1800, 6 p.m. in Portugal, and 1 p.m. in the U.S., Canada. Table tennis, Sporting won 3-0 against Ponta do Pargo. Just in case you guys are wondering, they're from Açores. And we reached the final. So now we're waiting for São Roque or Juncal. One of those two teams will meet us in the final. And then if we win, it'll be 4 years in a row winning the championship, Portuguese Championship League. And that's all I got to say. One more note about the volleyball team. As you know, they used to train in Fiennes. Fiennes is north of Portugal. And now they're being moved to Lisbon. Our coach, Hugo Silva, reached a mutual agreement with Sporting. He's no longer our coach because his professional life and personal life is all up north. So it's understandable. But I do understand the position of Sporting bringing the volleyball team to Lisbon. It's less expensive. They were paying a lot of rent for the pavilions and all that stuff. So it makes... our club is in Lisbon, so why shouldn't the volleyball team be in Lisbon as well? So to me, it makes a lot of sense. If we, in the process, it'll be growing pains. If we lose a couple players and the coaching staff, then be it. But we can certainly rebuild because the contracts we have in volleyball, it's not 4 years long. It's on a yearly basis. So it's not going to be like super expensive, the budget. If anything, I think I'll give my kudos to Miguel Albuquerque and Frederico Varandas to try to minimize the budget and get everything closer to our fans, because then they'll practice at João Rocha. So I think that's super smart, and that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Steph. Let's go on to Twitter questions. Steph, I'm actually going to ask you this one first. Comes from Joel da Silva. past guest on the podcast. Follow him at Joe Leon _073. He asks 2 questions. I actually want to know your response on both. One, is pineapple on pizza acceptable? Careful, Steph. You say the wrong thing, I'll fuck you up. And second, now that we're officially out of the title race and third place is safe, should we rest our main players for the final for the Taça Portugal Cup? Or should we come with the usual squad and hope for a miracle in order to reach second?
Okay, so the first one, I don't like pineapple on the pie.
Oh my God. Okay. Continue, bro.
Yes, Steph.
Puta que pariu, tá maluco, okay, cara. That's like fucking having dinner and dessert together. What the hell?
No, man. Don't knock until you try it, bro.
I'm not from Hawaii. How about that? The second part of the question, I agree, and like a few players, yes, like you mentioned with Chris, Bruno Fernandes is about to get his yellow card, and he's been playing every single game. But at the same time, if I'm Kaiser and Bruno Fernandes tells me I'm super motivated and I still want to play, I'm gonna let him play. He could have some personal goals. He could say, I want to go for the o melhor marcador da Liga. He's just 2 goals away from Seferovic. So he doesn't have more goals like he said on Twitter. But other than that, I would certainly give more minutes to Jovan Cabral. Certainly give more minutes to Chico Geraldes, to Dumbia. But I would be careful. I wouldn't rest the whole team because you want them to remain competitive and with rhythm. The Taça de Portugal is on the 25th of May. So we only play now on a weekly basis. So you want to remain competitive. It's really dangerous and we've seen that in the NBA. We've seen that in baseball when sometimes they sweep a team and then they rest all that time and then they come back all fucking discombobulated. Like, what the hell happened? Because you killed the rhythm. So I would be careful with that. I wouldn't switch the whole team, but certainly a couple players. If not the whole game, I would give them. I would tell them, Bruno Fernandes, I'm going to give you the first 45 minutes, but then the second half, I'm going to give entirely to Chico Geraldes. I would be okay with that. But, be careful for what you wish for, because you want these players to remain focused and with rhythm, competitive rhythm, into the final against Football Club Porto. We really riding on a high wave, so let's keep it that way. I love the way we're playing, full of confidence. But the game in no Dragão will be a very good test of what to expect no Jamor. So it's back-to-back games against Football Club Porto. But if we can steal the show and get the second place by winning no Estádio Dragão, if they have a negative result against Nacional and then do it again no Jamor, I think we'll be the number 1 public enemy to Football Club Porto.
Yeah, well said, Steph. Well, Steph, I agree with you there. Next question, I'll give it to you, Chris. It's from Nuno Gabriel. The next few questions are going to be from him. At Belenenses on Twitter. He asks, what's your take on fake Belenenses goal? Who is to blame? In my opinion, Coates approached it all wrong and landed on his ass, allowing the initial shot that Hernandez saved very well. What's your take on the goal, dude? Who's at fault?
It's a pretty shitty pass by, I believe, Matthew, correct, to kind of put Borja in that situation in the first place.
Agreed.
And then obviously Borja doesn't really do fantastic with it either. He does, track back decently and slide across, but doesn't quite get there. And then Renan obviously makes a decent enough save, but it goes right to Lika, who has quietly had a really nice season for Belenenses. I think he's had double-digit goals, which is pretty remarkable. I thought that guy was a lost cause completely. So good for him having a good season. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna put most of that on Matthew.
Fair enough. Next, also again from Nuno Gabriel. Luis Felipe is on fire. Should he still be the starter, or should the option off the bench now that Bas Dost is back? So Patrick answered that earlier. So Kev, I'll give that one to you.
I'd say definitely carry on playing Felipe, especially for the games against Porto. As we've seen in the past, Bas Dost never seems to be on the pitch when we play the bigger teams, be it Benfica or Porto, or even Braga. Felipe, the difference between him and Bas Dost is Felipe is always closing down. He's always looking for the ball. He's always looking for a chance. Bas Dost is waiting for the chance to come to him. And Felipe will always receive the ball and play it off and be part of the team and look to help build an attack. Bas Dost is just there to finish it. So possibly for the Tondela game, put Bas Dost in to get some minutes, get him back ready. And if we need him in the Porto game, if Felipe isn't doing the job, we can use him. But I'd say definitely start Felipe because you can't argue with the form that he's been in. You can't just put Bas Dost back in because of his name.
For sure.
Hey, I gotta jump in really fast. I totally agreed with everything that Kevin said, but I gotta tell you something. It's a great feeling knowing that we have a world-class player sitting on the bench and he can just jump in at any minute and be on the pitch. It gave me knowing that Bas Dost was on the bench, and if the game went south, I was like, wow, it feels good now because we haven't been in this position of having two good strikers for a while. So so I just wanted to say that just a great feeling to have the comfort, confidence of having two good strikers because we haven't had that for a while. Montero was great, but he wasn't scoring. I love Montero, but I like to be realistic. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, well said, Steph. Well said, Kev. Next question for you, Patrick. Thoughts on Gudeli's performance today? That quote-unquote goal, it was going wide. Overall, though, how do you think he played?
Yeah, I think he had a pretty calm game, pretty solid. It's not his best performance, obviously. He's had some very good ones of late that have really stood out to me, but I thought he had a pretty relaxed and sound game, a bit like Sporting's performance as a whole. And yeah, nothing too crazy from him, but solid stuff, and I'm sure Kaiser will be satisfied with what he's seen, and perhaps his recent good form. Kaiser's, when we talk about why hasn't Doumbia played any minutes, perhaps Gudeli's good form is something that Kaiser really wants to feed, to supplement, and he's giving him as much game time as possible right now because he is, to me anyway, living a very good moment right now in the green and white of Sporting.
Yeah, agreed. Next question. Steph, I'll give it to you. Comes from our boy Abdallah Armuti from Jordan at Armuti92. After this amazing run, do you believe that Kaiser could get us the league title next season? What do you think, Steph?
Yes, but at the same time, two things need to happen. We had to because now we can see it. Our team this team would have been good enough to win the title league if we were not involved in all four competitions. Because you can see that this team, well vested, is a good team. Well, given to also the fact that we had three amazing acquisition in the winter market, being Doumbia, Borja, and what's the other one?
Luis Felipe.
And Luis Felipe. Thank you. I was not about to say Lottie. Don't worry about it.
Thank God.
Because for some reason I'll never forget his stupid name. Um, I was against Lodi coming to Sporting. So in that aspect, if we prepare the preseason the way it's supposed to be prepared, I think we have a chance to the title league. But let's take into account that we might lose Bruno Fernandes, might lose Mathieu, we might lose even Coates, and we might lose even Acuna. Uh, we all know that Sporting needs money. We have to repay the loan that we got from our American friend, which it was 65 million euros. So if we sell all these players, we'll be able to repay the loan or a portion of it, and then we'll be able to get some quality players with that kind of money that we'll be gaining. So if we're smart enough and we can put a team together, most certainly we can get a great team. But it has to be a team that's good enough for all four competitions. Because we saw that when we were involved in Taça de Portugal, Taça da Liga, um, League Cup, and the Championship, we couldn't handle it. The team was too tired. So that's my number one thing. Number two is if the corruption still goes on in Portugal, we're not going to see a title for another 18 years. Um, people want to be blind and they say there's no corruption. It's fucking bullshit. We can see it a mile away. We can see how many games that lately Benfica won. Super easy, like Marítimo, the president of Marítimo, o presidente do Benfica, it was a fucking joke. He even said before the game that this will be one of the easiest games for Marítimo. And it was, actually. He didn't lie to anybody. And Braga is a fucking joke, too, about recently on a flash interview, he said that he doesn't understand why fans are criticizing him and his team and the players and the president. He must be joking, or uh, he must be really in drugs or something, because everyone saw what the both presidents did in the Câmara Presidencial, joking around when it was a PK against Braga. And o Orelhas said, pá, não deixa para lá, isso é só penalti, está tudo bem. So, if the corruption is not fixed in Portugal, Benfica will have the upper hand all the time. That's how they've been winning. They've been winning with corruption. Benfica said they don't like to hear that. They will defend their clubs, and I do understand that. But some Benfica do admit it. And to answer the question, it's those two combinations. If we have a good team, well balanced, and if the corruption stops in Portugal, then we'll have a shot. But I'm telling you, we've had some amazing teams like in 2015 and 16, and we couldn't pull it off. The corruption that is still favored Benfica, and until that's not destroyed, and Rui Pinto is trying, but they're shutting him up pretty good. Then I don't see Sporting winning a title for a little while. Not in soccer or football at all.
Yeah. Well said, stuff. Special shout out to Sporting CP Youth at Sporting CPY who asked really the same question. So thank you for the question. And I think Steph gave you your answer. Next question comes in from our boy also in the chat with us, Jose Pereira or Josie Pereira. That's at Pereira 4785 on Twitter. He asks, with Philippe scoring, should the striker position still be a priority during the summertime, and try to bring a new race in, or roll the dice and see if his form can continue next season? Chris, I'll give that one to you. What do you think, dude?
I definitely think we need another striker, regardless of Philippe's performances here to end the season. It's not good to just have one or even maybe two strikers, as we've seen this whole season. If one goes down, you're pretty much screwed. So I definitely think we need at least three. So whether or not Bastos stays on or not, I think that we need to add three strikers total. So if Bastos stays, then we need to add one more. If Bastos goes, then we need to add two more.
All right. Well said. Next question, I'll give it to you, Kevin. Also from Josie. He asked, since Bruno broke the record for most goals by a midfielder, does it really count because Portugal isn't in the top 5 league? How does the panel individually feel about about the narrative in the media when they frame anything as top 5 league? I hate it. So Kev, what do you think? Do you think it's a bit sort of we should take credit away from Bruno Fernandes because he isn't in the top 5 league, or how do you see that really?
Excellent question.
Yeah, it is. I'd say Bruno Fernandes deserves a lot more credit for what he's done this season, not just the assists, not just the goals, not just the figures, just overall what a player he's been this season for Sporting. And if it's 31 goals for any other player in the world, it would be talked about. But it's the Portuguese league, and no one seems to care. And we only have the league itself to blame, and the teams in the league itself to blame. No one's going to pay attention to a league that has a Tondela playing in it, playing for a draw, playing disgusting football, just making fouls, just wasting time, playing for a draw. Now, teams like Belenenses and Santa Clara that have come through, and Guimarães, those are teams we need in the league. Marítimo, no. I mean, their president just being friends with Benfica and the big club's presidents. No, you cannot have that in this league. The league will only improve if the teams go for wins, if they do what is best for their club, and try and take the light away from the big three, because it's just a big three, and one of the big three hasn't won a league in 18 years. And who's going to care about a league like that? A league like that, but not only like that, because we've got to add on top of it some stadiums that don't get 5,000 capacity, TV deals that are only in Portugal. You never see an English channel play a Portuguese league game, and not to mention referees' decisions or the corruption. We can say what we want about the French league. I'd say it's football-wise, it's the same level, but they don't have the refereeing problems that Portugal has. The fans in France, the stadiums get filled a lot more. The TV deals are better, and they have a PSG in it. So either for Bruno Fernandes to really be recognised and for his work to go noticed, the league has to improve, and it starts with the teams itself in it.
Okay.
Hey, Danny.
Yeah, well done. Sorry, I was talking on. Sorry, go ahead.
Well said, but there's one thing that people need to realize.
Hmm.
A lot of the key goals that Bruno Fernandes have scored, it's against top teams. We just said a little while ago that Bas Dost cannot score in big games. But Bruno Fernandes, he can score in big games. Yeah. There's a difference. And if you sing your scouting department, don't matter if you're from Manchester United, Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, Juventus, Bayern Munich, you notice these little details. You'll say, this guy just scored a fucking goal from 35 yards away no Estádio da Luz, the 2-1 loss against Benfica for the Portuguese Cup, and scored another amazing goal in Alvalade. They qualified Sporting for the final. That's the small details they're looking for. And this is why this guy's a great player, one of the best midfielders in Europe, because he can score in fucking high-intensity games, important games. And that's all I have to say.
Exactly. That's why it's not just 31 goals. It's everything that he's done this season. It's how he fights. It's the defensive contributions. It's the assists. It's the link-up play. It's literally everything the guy does on the pitch is beautiful, and it's to a top standard. And any club in Europe should be looking at him.
And they are.
100 million.
Yeah.
Don't believe a baller or CMTV. 100 million. Just pay it.
No. A bola
Don't
CMTV,
look twice.
A bola CMTV e o recorde é tudo João Félix. Esse aqui é o maior.
All right. Thank you very much.
É como o Renato Santos. Olha o
craque. 220 milhões. Isso é que era.
Yeah.
Ui, imagina.
Um craque do caralho, o Renato Santos.
All right. Thank you guys for throwing in the Twitter questions. We appreciate every single one of them and every single one of you. And to wrap it up, we're going to do a quick little preview of Sporting Tondela next week, our last home game of the season. Tondela currently fighting for their lives, currently in the relegation spot as Shabs got a crazy draw against Fidens, 4-4, and Tondela lost today. Steph, or actually Patrick, I'll start with you first. What's your preview and prediction of that game?
It'd be quite nice to send Tondela down to the second division, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So
Agreed.
let's go for 3-0. 3-0 at home.
É, puta que os pariu. Não vale o piso, é o Benfica D, oh caralho, também.
Calma.
Benfica D. A, B, D. D is in Delta.
Steph, I'll ask your prediction next, dude. What do you think?
Sporting's going to win 5-0.
I think mid.
Because we're trying to eradicate the corruption in Portugal, so we got to start with a merda de Tondela.
Fair enough. And Kev, what's your preview and prediction?
Realistically, I'm saying 4-1. Carry on the winning streak.
Well done. And Chris, last but not least, what's your preview and prediction of the Tondela matchup?
Yeah, I also expect a bit of a battering from us, maybe 3-0. Yeah, I mean, we're just in too good a form right now to drop points at home, in my eyes, especially. I do think that Tondela will probably be a bit more motivated than Belenenses was today.
For sure.
And they also got fucked by having to go down to 10 men after 20 minutes. But yeah, I mean, there's no way they can hang with us. They have some quality, and they still might survive. Regardless of the result of this game, but they always fuck us up and take points from us. So I won't be too sad to see them go down, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting them to go down for a solid 2 seasons now.
When they go down.
They have Tomane, he's a good player, but if they go
we'll
down,
just take him.
Tomane will be going to another first division team.
Yeah, agreed.
So will Claudio Ramos.
Oh, that's going to be interesting, actually. See how that plays out. I think he's going to go abroad. I think he'll probably go to, Greece or something.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll go to Benfica, and then he'll loan them out, and he'll disappear on the face of the earth, because there's nothing dodgy about that.
No.
Yikes.
If he goes to Benfica, they loan him to Setúbal or Caracas Fordham, then he won't be able to play against them.
Well said.
But he'll still have the game of his life against Sporting, as they always do.
Yeah, I think Sporting will also win mainly because it's at home and we're really good at home. But I think Tondela will put up a good fight. I'll go with a 3-1 win. Anyways, that is our podcast. That is our episode for today. Actually, before I forget again, I was supposed to say it in the beginning of the podcast, but I'll say it at the end. Forza Iker. Really sad to see a rivalry aside, a legend of the game. Regardless, a professional have to go through a heart attack and potentially have a beautiful career cut quite sad towards the end. So I really hope he pulls through, and it would be really nice to see him back on the field one day against Sporting for sure. But of course, we'll have to wait and see about that. But Forza Iker, it was good to see. He pulled out okay, and he's doing all right now. But it was very, very sad news that hit not only us Portuguese league fans, but the footballing world as a whole. Forza Iker. And that is our podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat. Thank you, everybody that sent us questions on Twitter, and everybody that interacts with us on Twitter. Follow us at Sporting160_EN. Also, follow us on Instagram that Kevin is doing an amazing job at. We're getting, futsal players liking our posts. Bruno Page liked our post. A bunch of players.
Seriously.
Yeah, a bunch of players have been liking our post. I told Kevin to. Sorry, I know this shouldn't be out live on the podcast, but I was telling Kevin, "Hey, bro, show the boys on our group chat," and he was just showing me, "Kev, bro, you got to share it with everybody, bro."
Well, that's
Conteúdo
cool,
do
man.
canal.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we're doing crazy on Instagram. So, thank you, Kevin. You're doing a really good job. Follow us at Sporting160EN.
How old is Kevin?
Sorry?
How old is Kevin?
I don't know. What are you, 12? Oh, 16.
12. No. The
You
baby
think-
face.
I'm kidding, bro. I'm kidding.
You 16?
Yep.
Oh, I have a niece. It's 15. Are you interested? No, I'm only kidding.
This is Sporting160 After Hours. The matchmaking episode.
I'm only kidding. I don't have a niece that's 15, believe me.
Anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in as always. And yeah, see you next week and viva Sporting.
Viva Mariana.
Hey.